going back to things that people never get taught when they're learning to drive, car park lessons, how to pull into a car park, maybe a multi-story car park, maybe a surface car park, and how to park properly. The first thing that I see all the time where people obviously don't use their common sense is when they drive into a car park and they're nose to tail. So the car in front of them sees a parking space, the car in front of them wants to reverse, and someone goes right up behind it and they stop the car in front from reversing. And it takes ages then because everybody's got to back up, because usually when the car in front finds a parking space, they don't want to surrender it. They want that space. So the first thing people don't get taught is when you go into a multi-story car park or a surface, any car park, leave a minimum gap of a car's length between you and the vehicle in front, so that when they do find a parking space, they can reverse into it quickly without delaying everybody. The second thing that people aren't taught is, if you're the lead vehicle, how to tell the traffic behind you that you want to reverse into a parking space. The logical way to do it, and the most obvious way to do it, is when you see a parking space, the first thing you do is you put your hazard lights on. You then begin to shunt forwards and turn the vehicle in preparation for reversing into that parking space. Now, putting your hazard lights on alone ought to alert the drivers behind you that you intend to reverse into a parking space, and they ought to stay where they are. But they don't always do that. They might see you move forward and they might move behind you. Well, if they do that, now obviously you've got a bit of a problem. You might not be able to reverse into that space. You might have to wait for them to back up. But again, in order to get around this, hopefully, it wouldn't happen, but what you can do is drive forwards very slowly with your hazard lights on, and this should show them that you're maneuvering. You're not simply just driving off again. You're intending to reverse. If you crawl forwards very slowly, they might see that as you're starting to steer to point the back of the vehicle towards the parking space, what your intentions are. The other thing you can do is dab your brake lights. So as you start to drive off, dab your brake lights a couple of times. That prevents them from moving because they see your brake lights coming on again. They realize you're going to stop, and then shunt forwards and then shunt back into the parking space. It's important to realize that when you're driving, you're not dealing with cars, bicycles, or trucks, or buses. You're dealing with other human beings, because the other vehicles on the road will only do what the driver tells them to do. And if you can communicate to that driver behind you what you're intending to do, guess what? The car won't move. The car can't move of its own will, of its own accord. The person behind you has to do something to make that car move. And if you look over your shoulder and maybe put your hand up, as much as say, please wait there a minute, I'm just about to reverse. Guess what? They'll wait and you can reverse. But this doesn't get taught to new drivers.